bottom third of page Mem Zayin. The line starts with the word Chitzonius Levad.
You want me to remind you of the question I had yesterday?
Go ahead, what's your question?
You gave the mashal yesterday of the car. You gave mashal one is Pnimius, Yichud Pnimius of Avar, one is Yichud Chetonius of Avar. Pnimius being the conceptualization of the car, that a person's everywhere. The Chetonius, I think this was I guess the concept of the car with the wheels and the engine. Yeah. I was just trying to, I just didn't see exactly the parallel, like exactly how we see Yichud Avah on each way, what's Chochmah, what's Bina.
Okay, let me explain to you the principle. Pnimis and Chitzonius. There is a saying from Baal Shem Tov. Mokim Shiritzoyna Shol Odom Shom Hu. The place where the person's will is, this is where he is. Now, how did he get there?
The will?
No, the person. Wherever he wants to be, this is where he is. I mean, he is where he is. And his will could be wherever it is. From who? What's the pshat?
Asking me?
Okay. Well, I'm asking you, probably rhetorically, okay. Unless you know the answer, you can explain it. But the question is a blatant question. What does it mean, Shom Hu? And the Baal Shem Tov says clearly, this is where he is, not this is where he wants to be. So how is he even here? If he is here. This is the difference in Pnimis and Chitzonius. Chitzonius, this is when it comes down in the worldly state. And in the worldly state, nothing is by virtue of that's the way it should be. That's the truth, that's the way it should be. Everything has to be made. If he wants to be someplace, he has to get there. This is Chitzonius. Even though he is going there, he wants to be there because of some kind of a pneumistic reality. But it doesn't automatically transport over there. And if we should not recognize the Pnimius HaKavana, then we would say a person is going there because of some Chitzonius benefit. Chitzonius provides for everything. Not only for how he got there, but why he got there. This is what we have been fighting all the time. You know, how come this grows? Pnimius means that there is an inherent reality and truth. And this is what Shem Tov says, Shom Hu. The deeper explanation, or if you want to really put it in thought and in words, how does that mean Shom Hu? It means simply this, that the world is not an entity on itself. The world is is a godly creation. And it is there by virtue of the godly mandate. Godliness is truth itself. Therefore, from a godly perspective, where a person wants to be, that's where he is. But godliness does not an obstacle of miles and distances. The entire creation, the entire existence is one nakuda, one reality of the godly will. So this is the mashal that we gave about a car. You say a human being, like we speak all the time about the significance of a human being having a home. AyinBase saying yodam. And when he does have a home, this becomes his home. So we explained many times. His home is a godly decoration. It's safeguarded by his creator. It is not safeguarded by putting up window grates. All of the things that a person ultimately, that human beings ultimately have invented and have developed, all that is inherent in their creation. It is the godly spirit that was imbued in them that permitted them to venture out in such a broad manner. We mentioned not long ago that David HaMelech describes Hashem's creation, Baruch Nafshis Hashem, that we say Rosh Chodesh. And he wonders all the various creatures and the seasons and all that, night and day and so forth. And then he says there is a sea, the high seas. And what is in the high seas? There is the Yosom, there is the and there is Somonius Lahaleichum. And boats are traveling there. What does the boats have to do with God's creation? Boats is a human creation. Human creation is only a revelation of the godly creation. Does that answer your question?
Answers part of it. I just didn't know if in the mashal there was Chochmah and Bina and Chochmah, like I know we're talking about Yichud Avar. I don't know in each mashal what was a Chochmah and what was Bina.
So I'm explaining that there is the way it is perceived from a Chochmah, from a higher perspective, where it is, but the truth is the way it is. Wherever a person wants to be, that's where he is automatically. He's there already. When you come down to the point where he has to get there, this is already at the lower level. This is on the Bina, on the Yesh level. But on the Ayin level, he is there to start with. And similarly, he said Yichud Avor. When we say the Yichud between Chochmah and Bina, there's Yichud Pnimi and Yichud Chitzoni. Yichud Chitzoni is of Chochmah, united with the Chitzonius of Bina. Yichud Pnimi is Pnimius of Chochmah, united with Pnimius of Bina. And there cannot be a greater demonstration of the union from Yichud Pnimium, of Pnimius of Bina, of Pnimius of Chochmah, is the fact that boats are traveling on the sea. What can be more chitzonius than that? And yet that is part of the creation, part of the godly, of the place of the godly creation. At that point, this Chitzonis is referring to the way this Indian is in Pnimius at the highest level. Do you follow what I'm saying? All right. All right. So we are, as I said, on the line that begins with what Chitzeni is, about a third from the bottom. At the end of that line, this union of Yichud Avo and Yichud Chitzeni and Yichud Pnimi, from a higher perspective.
What we did? What was before that? You explained that yesterday.
What?
The word before you started there. You explained that yesterday.
But which before?
Unikadashti.
Unikadashti. This is no. This is a mimer. This is a quote. B'shoyra Shorishin. At the very top, the very first source of these two elements, of these dichotomy of Pnimius and Chitzenius, who ha'hefresh, at that stage, at that point, that is represented by the difference Ben Horotz in the Teiro Mitzvahs, the Horotz in the Oilam ways. Between the distinction between the Rotzin of Teiro Mitzvahs, the godly will in Teiro Mitzvahs, and the godly will for Oilams. Oilams are representative of a godly present, a godly will, and Teiro Mitzvahs are representative of godly will. And there is a very profound, significant difference between these two will. The Horotz in the Teiro Mitzvahs, with the Rotzin of Teiro Mitzvahs, who Rotzin Pnimi V'Atzmi. This is what's called Pnimi V'Atzmi, an essential and a personal will of Elokus. Meaning that this is a Rotzin that is an end in and of itself. Masha'enk in Horotz in the Eilameis, whereas the Rotzin for world Masha'al lo yisbirtzoyne yizborech lahatzil v'livroi. This is the way this is described in Eitz Chaim, that all of Yirtzeni is Borech Lahatzil V'Livrei. It arose in Hashem's will to emanate and to create. The very expression, all of Yirtzeni is Borech Lahatzil V'Livrei, means that this is something which is novel. The will, there came a will. This is not an essential will, an original will. Gam be'oirin sof shelifnei hatzimtzum, even in the oirin sof that precedes the tzimtzum, which means this is still in oirin sof itself. World is not as yet a possibility even. Ein der rotzen atzmi, that will for world, that is not a rotzen atzmi. It is not an essential rotzen, and rotzen for its own sake. Ki im bishvil is a kavona. Only, rather, it is bishvil is a kavona for the sake of some intent. There is a further intent for this rotzen. It is not for its own sake. where the principle is hakavon hapnimis, is the internal and essential kavan, intent of this will. What is the intent of this will? What is sought for from it? A'abol horotzein, but the will itself, hu b'bchinas kitzonis levat, is on the chitzonius level, just on the chitzonius level. Again, what we quoted before from the Baal Shem Tov can help us understand this sentence here. Kavana means the intent. Just like on a human level. On a very simple level, a person goes to work, he wants to go to work. And the work will pay for his effort. He wants to make money, wants to have money. But does he want to have money? Is that really the intent? Is that really the end purpose of the work and having money? This is where a great error is found. That having money in itself is totally meaningless. And this is not what a person is really after. And yet, we do misinterpret ourselves. This is why we always quote what the Gemara says, that a person will never satisfy his taiva in the worldly arena. Yeshlei Monev, he has 100. Reitzim Osayim, he wants 200. He has 200. Reitzim Arba Meis. Why? What's the secret behind this constant dissatisfaction? It is because that he is investing his will in the wrong direction. He's misinterpreting his own will. Because 100 and 200 and 400 is not what he's after. He's after the kavana, the significance of that will. And this is why, no matter what he gets, he's always dissatisfied. Because it's misdirected intent. The kavana, okay, rotzain, the difference between rotzain and kavana is rotzain needs to be fulfilled, needs to be acquired. A person does want money, but don't put your whole kavana on that. The kavana for the money is something much deeper. The kavana does not need to be acquired. The kavana goes with him all the time. It is the essential. His essential presence is the kavana. If a person earns money and which he uses to pay rent and to support a family, does the family become his family as a result of the fact that he is paying rent and providing for their needs? or that an essential reality. This is kavona pnimis. Rotzen is something that rotzen comes from Rosh Rotzo. He's running. He needs to acquire something. It may be a very important. He needs to acquire something. He needs to accomplish something. But he needs to accomplish something because there's something that he doesn't have. It could be a very deep rotzen, pnimi in Talmud. But in every rotzen there is a kavana pnimis. Kavana means the intent, that which remains with him as he is pursuing it. Which does not get translated in any pursuit. That remains him. I want to bring this home since we came to that clarity. Hashem created the world. And he created, very varied, unlimited content in the world. And then there is good and bad. There is building and destruction. There's all kinds of different things. We know clearly that Hashem wants the good and rejects the bad. Ishmael. Right? He wants the good and rejects the bad. The interesting thing, the Gemara says, it's a medrash, that the first day there was choshech. Initially there was choshech. And then there was oir. Hashem created oir. Then it said, Vayal Elokim es ha'oir ki tev. Elokim saw that oir is good. Vayavdil, and he then separated between oir and choshech. The medrash says, what is it? Vayal Elokim es ha'oir ki tev. That means that prior to that, it was not clear that this is Torah. The medrash says that actually prior to that, Eini Yedei Bameh Chofetz. You don't know what he really wants. Maaseh Harshoyim or Maaseh Tzadikim. That's what the Medrash says. Vayal Elokim es ha'oir ki tev, havei, so then you know that no, his Chofetz Maaseh Tzadikim. This is a phenomenal statement.
He didn't know, we didn't know.
No, we don't know what he knew.
We don't know. Okay, we don't know.
He hasn't expressed what he really wants. Any idea? What does this mean? You don't know when he wants Ma'aseh Tzadik and Ma'aseh Rashay. Ultimately, I have to come brief, and maybe we'll expound it tomorrow. Hashem does not want Ma'aseh Tzadikim, Ma'aseh Rashoyim. Hashem wants His presence to be recognized. As we say in davening, Roitz Hashem is Sireyam, as Am Yachid L'chasd. The whole creation is from the Midas HaMalchus. No, a melech in a melucha has we know what a melucha is, with the officers and the government structure and the military of all kinds of different things, and then there is the development within the country itself and the commerce and so forth. All that represents the melucha. What is really the melucha? So we say all the time that, like we say, in the presence of the Melech, the highest officer, the 5-star general, and the foot soldier are on equal par, on equal ground. Why? Because it's the presence of the king himself. That is the real truth. This is the reality itself. Everything emanates from that. This is what provides for everything. Like I mentioned the other day, recently, when the Rambam says that what is the foundation of all foundations is to know that there is a first being who brings everything forth. So we ask the question, what's the point of first being? He brings everything. What does Elokus mean to us? That he brings us forth. That he creates everything. No. The primary point and what makes everything be is that there is a first being. His presence is what makes everything be. And from that, then there is different levels where it develops. And ultimately, what we observe in the world, as we discussed the other day with the tree and the fruit, what we observe in the world is his presence. There is no explanation why there is a fruit, why there is a tree, why there is human beings for that matter. It is beyond explanation. It is his presence. Bishop said Kavana. That remains in its source, never leaves. Everything else has a Kavana. Ratzon Pnimi is actually this Kavana. This never leaves its source. Like the Baal Shem Tov says, that the creation was by utterances, by letters. These letters stay in the creation. This is what gives him a real presence. In other words, the presence of the Creator, this is what the world represents. This is what gives us a presence. Not the fact that he created it, but his presence.
The oasis of that which leads him and goes into the creation, or the Kabbalah that stays in him?
The oasis are his presence in the world. The oasis are his presence in the world. Because Bar Melech Shilton, the Melech's presence, is represented by his command.
And Ki Toiv is the Amshocha, the Kavanah.
Right. Ki Toiv is the revelation of the Kavanah.
And Ein Yodeh B'ma Chafetz is what?
Is that when the Kavanah is camouflaged. The Kavanah is when you see you created Chesed and Cheshech and Anoyer. Look at it, which one is preferable? To you maybe this, but what is it? Where is he present? What is he gain from Maisa and Tzaddikim? What is he gain from Maisa and Tzaddikim? Nothing. The only difference is that Maisa and Tzaddikim revealed the truth, his truth. All right, gentlemen. This is it for this morning. Oh yeah. Okay. Have a good day. Yeah.